In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Kicking off hour 2 here, Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Still to come on the show, we got a 14-game slate in Major League Baseball. I know JVT's got a handful of games he's interested in. I'm also curious your thoughts on what the Phillies have done the last couple weeks. Also, what the Mets have done is what they have been able to handle the last week and a half. Reality is that's sustainable. We've got conference finals to discuss in the NBA with both matchups officially set. Game 1 in the Western Conference getting underway tonight with OKC and San Antonio. Plenty of NHL action to get into today as well, which is where we're going to kick things off here. We already know that it's Avs Golden Knights in the West. The matchup in the East will be determined tonight. Game 7 on the way between the Montreal Canadiens and Buffalo Sabres. Winner has the right to face the Carolina Hurricanes. Sabres insider Bill Hoppe is going to join us in about 30 minutes as well, 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern. And it was a crazy Game 6 over the weekend. Did you get a chance to watch some of this?
Of course.
Very chaotic, I think, to say the least.
You mean going up 3-1 and then losing 8-3?
Yeah, that'll do it.
That's somewhat weird, right? I continue to wonder, what happened to our boy Dobish here? And I do like to say his name. That's probably part of the reason, but he was awful in that game. I don't know about, the, again, intricacies of what goals are, I guess, allowed, for lack of a better term, or acceptable. But the fact that you're giving up multiple one-timers from, like, the blue line, and again, one of them, you're locked eyes with one of these guys on one of the one-timers, and you can't get your glove down in time. It was really odd watching it. There were some that was a little unlucky. You lose a guy behind a net, and then all of a sudden on a rebound, he can just flip it back in. There's certain things that I think kill you, but at the end of the day, I thought Dobish was terrible in that game. And both teams have really big questions. You saw two goaltenders for Buffalo in that game. You saw Dobish crap his pants, and then you saw another goaltender late in that contest. I don't know what you're supposed to do as you move forward for both of these teams.
I can't remember what the stat is, but I heard somebody on the radio yesterday say that this is like the first series this deep into the playoffs that you've seen 4 goalies in all, yet none of them were due to injury.
Yeah.
And so, Saturday as well, in addition.
Didn't you see that in Minnesota and Colorado? Did you see 4 goalies in that series? See? I pay attention.
Yeah. Then maybe they were lying.
Yeah. Right? I'm not wrong. Because Minnesota started both of those guys. Maybe it was the fact that both of them did. And then the Lumberyard both made an appearance.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, then I don't know. They're just talking out of their you-know-what.
You should just watch hockey like I do.
For Alex Lyon, though, early, obviously, he had the struggles as well. Lindy Ruff makes the change. UPL stops all 18 shots that come his way. And the Sabres then rally with these goalie changes. And 7 unanswered goals from then on with Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what to make of this other than goalies have been a problem, but when they make the switch, at least in the immediate impact, seems to have worked, and that home ice doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Because especially for Buffalo, 5-1 on the road compared to 2-4 at home. And so now you think you have the opportunity to close out a series at home, but what does that look like for you? Because it hasn't really worked. And Montreal already has experience in the postseason winning a Game 7 away from home.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that Montreal, now I do think they can win this game, but I think the other thing you're worried about a little bit, although they did go 0-2 in the 6-3 win, but again, over the last 3 games as a whole, Buffalo seems to have fixed their power play a little bit here, right? So that was one of the big reasons why they were struggling, but now all of a sudden, with a shorthanded opponent, you're starting to take advantage a little bit more. So, they go 4 for 6 yesterday? Yesterday, I keep saying yesterday. Saturday?
I keep doing that too.
Yeah, on the power play. So I think that's also something that is not working in Montreal's favor is you've I guess I don't want to say you've toyed with it because Buffalo has been pretty even with you, but you've allowed this series to extend when you had an opportunity to win at home, and now all of a sudden your opponent has figured out one of their biggest weaknesses, it would seem, over the last 3 games, and now you've got a winner take all to figure out what you're going to do here.
I lean Montreal, as you said earlier, especially you can get, I think as much as plus 105 is still out there. Even money is kind of the prevailing number. The number you see on your screen for those of you on YouTube TV or the VSiN Watch app, minus 102 is at DraftKings. Buffalo anywhere from minus 115 to minus 122 I have seen out there, which I think is fair if you're just thinking on the surface this is a virtual pick'em game, but give Buffalo the edge at home. But I don't give Buffalo the edge at home. That's kind of the thing. And we've talked about this going into and after game 5 of this series, that through those first 5 games, even though Montreal got dogged in game 1, they had been the better team throughout. And yes, what happened the other night in game 6, but I still feel at large that if Montreal comes to play and is equal one side or the other, that I give the Canadians the edge. So if I don't have a bet on the game tonight, but if I did, I lean Montreal, and I lean under as well, just knowing game 7s historically tend to play tighter checking, but this series hasn't really been that. And I think that's priced into the market as well. You're getting juice on the under for a reason in this spot. So I ultimately ended up staying off this game altogether.
Okay, so that's my question for you here. To your point about game 7s and totals and whatnot. In basketball, I have tangible reasons as to why this thing happens, as in we're going to slow the pace down. We're going to walk the ball up. We're going to overcoach a little bit. We're going to call some plays. We're going to run some sets. We're going to elongate the shot clock. In hockey, you're not really slowing the pace down in terms of possessions, I would assume, right? You're not just kind of listfully skating up into the neutral zone. So from a game 7 perspective, given the way the series is played,
it's been an over series.
Right. Why would I think that just because it's game 7, the nature of this game is going to get played differently other than it's game 7? Like, what happens in game 7s in hockey, I guess, is what I'm asking, that slows these things down from a scoring standpoint?
I think
outside of tighter checking.
Well, no, it's the winner go home factor. And I think with that, not only tighter checking, but like holding the sticks a little bit tighter and a little bit more nerve wracking, and all of those things come into play, I think.
Because I've got to where you're leaning here. On one side, I've got a goaltender in Jakub Dobeš, who over the last 3 games have saved just 86% of the shots that he has faced and has given up over 4 goals per game. And on the other side, I've got a team that really can't figure out what it wants to do with goaltender because Lions has not been good, and then Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has really kind of scuffled at times, although he came in the last game and looked pretty solid. But again, maybe there's something about coming off the bench and helping out. So outside of game 7, tighter checking, I am fascinated by this total because this series has been insane down the stretch, and I don't understand why that would change.
I don't know if the goaltending stuff is going to get fixed, to your point.
Yeah.
So maybe that is a shot. You want to take plus money on the over? Because like we talked, every game but one in this series has had 6 or more goals.
Will they swallow their whistles more into game 7? Because we have seen quite a few penalties over the last few games. You know, we saw Montreal go for 1 for 7 on a power play. We saw 6 power plays for Buffalo in the last game. So these have also been somewhat ticky-tack games. So are you going to...
I kind of thought that they would start to swallow the whistles from game 5 on, and they haven't. Okay. So I don't know if I believe that as much anymore, just because of the way this series is gone. So I wish I could give you a better, more firm answer, but I don't have a real strong opinion on it one way or the other.
Sure. And, I mean, to the point, too, yesterday, game 7, game goes over the total.
Yeah.
So, and again, I'm talking about the basketball, but
that that too was bet under because I think it closed 203.5.
Yes.
And then,
but to that point though, the premise is that total for that game was such a far cry from where the series was being played.
Sure.
But it set low, got bet low because it's game 7, and now I feel like we have a similar situation here. So that I'm talking out loud of I do think Montreal could pull this off and go on the road and win this thing. But I kind of want to fly in the face of our expectations of a normal game 7 and go over just considering the way that this thing has been played.
I wouldn't fault you for it at all. And like I said, you're getting plus money on it. The winner of tonight's game will go on to play Carolina.
Adding it to the rundown.
Who last played on Saturday, May 8th. Because they have swept both of their first round series, they have played 8 games in the last 46 days. We'll have nearly 2 weeks off before they play game 1 of this series.
Or rest.
And if it ends up being Montreal, which I think is entirely possible, what an uphill battle that's going to be for the Canadians, who have played back-to-back 7-game series while the Canes are rested. Game 1, I think, would still be a bit of a toss-up because I don't think you can mimic playoff hockey in practice, and they have had a lot of time off, that being Carolina. But after that, I think, as you said, and call me crazy, it's a Canes roll.
I mean, you better.
Yeah.
It's not even it's you better, right?
You have to. You have to.
You can't. Both teams, whatever. I don't think Dobas is in a you would know better than I don't think Dobas is in a situation where he would get benched going into that series should they move on. Even his play down the stretch, as we have discussed, and the other team can't figure out who they want. So if you're Carolina, I mean, the door is
ripe for opportunity,
wide open for you to not only win this series, you should be able to get this done relatively quickly if you're Carolina.
Also, as we said, the Western Conference Final is set. So Colorado minus 260 favorites against the Vegas Golden Knights at plus 210. And we'll talk about this series more in the coming days, as well as maybe even a little bit later on in the show today, because there is some sound from Jared Bednar I wanted to play from you. We don't have time right now. But some injury updates there. For Vegas, still nothing on the Mark Stone front, which is crazy to me.
How's that crazy?
Just the fact that you don't have...
It's hockey. They're never going to tell you.
But
these nerds.
A lot of teams do. Like, they give you a day-to-day or a week-to-week or, something like that.
You mean the team that got a second-round pick revoked for not speaking to the media is also being cagey about injury updates to their star player?
Speaking of which, we will see how that plays out ultimately, because they do have an opportunity for an in-person appeal to the national office tomorrow, I believe, for anyone who missed it because of the way that John Tortorella and the club handled their media availability after Game 6. The media access policy rules were broken there. They were taking away a second-round pick for next year, and John Tortorella was fined $100,000.
Did you see the explanation for the other violation, or part of why?
Because they had previous...
Well, but did you see what the previous violations were?
Oh, no, I hadn't.
There was... I don't know if this was true or not, but there was a report. I'll find the account, and I can give them credit on the other side. But there was also an instance, I guess there was a player that was requested to be mic'd up, and the Knights said no, among, I think, one more violation, and that's why they said, all right, we're done.
Well, so that's interesting to me, because did they say no to having a player mic'd up, period, or that player said no?
Period.
Because, okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense, because I was like, the player is allowed to say, no, I don't want to, and then they just go to the next player.
No, they just said, no, we're not doing it.
All right. That's interesting. And I know that they've had some other availability issues. I actually do have a stronger opinion on this, so maybe we can revisit it on the other side of the break. These commercials come up fast. But a reminder, up on the website right now, vsin.com/subscribe. If you want to come join us on a full-time basis, use the promo code PRO. You get 2 extra months as a part of that annual subscription, so 14 months for $199. Plenty of NHL and NBA postseason content available each and every day. vsin.com/subscribe.
Hey, let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. I've got something for you that feels too good to be true. First, credit where credit is due. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already leveling up your betting game. You're riding along with our best bets and top angles. And when there's a good game on, you're probably getting involved with a few props and alt markets as well. But there's one more layer if you really want to step things up, and that's VSiN Pro. Yeah, I've mentioned it before, but things are only getting better for our Pro subscribers. We just rolled out our MLB prop projections, breaking down some of the best edges across strikeouts, hits, home runs, and more. And that's on top of everything else Pro subscribers already get, including public betting splits, expert picks, and betting guides across the sports calendar. If you haven't tried it yet, stop sleeping on it. You can get your first month for just $9.99 or save big with promo code POD26 on an annual subscription. Hit the link in the description and start cashing in with VSiN Pro. All right, now back to the show.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
On our conversation before the break on this Vegas Golden Knights situation. For anyone who missed it, big news over the weekend. The Golden Knights were issued a pretty significant punishment for breaking the league's media access policy following Game 6 in Anaheim the other day. John Tortorella did not speak to media. They only had 2 players come out for the podium availability, which was very shortened, and they didn't make any players in the room but one, I believe, available, which is just, it's not good practices for the team. It's just not the way that things are supposed to go. Unfortunately, we saw a lot of media members pretty frustrated by it, especially since Vegas had won that series, and you want to hear from them. You come to find out later, even though in the moment they were talking about how they needed to catch their flight or what have you, that according to Elliot Friedman and some others, it was actually a way to get back at the league for the suspension of Braden McNabb that they didn't feel was warranted. Now the league is getting back at them by issuing, $100,000 fine to John Tortorella and taking away a second-round pick in the draft, which is, again, very significant punishment for something like this. They have an opportunity to appeal at the league office tomorrow should they go in person. I'm curious just to your opinion on how all of this has shaken out, because at least from my standpoint, it feels like the Golden Knights are trying to take a little bit of an us against the world stance. Does it seem that way to you at all?
Oh, you don't say, huh? Yes, they're definitely doing that. It's stupid, to be honest with you. You committed a violation, you got punished for it. All right. Well, I also don't think it helps that, from what I understand, they are still very much a hated franchise when it comes to NHL fans and their whiny nature.
People loved them so much for the first half of the first season.
I think you were a little close to that.
No.
Oh, okay, the first season, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
when they had the expansion draft and then everything happens at the beginning of the year, they were like America's hockey team. And then they actually continued to be good and made the Cup final. And since then, everyone has hated them.
Yeah. Oh, well, and not to be too dark, but also part of the reason why a lot of people rallied around it was that
October
was right around 1 October. So that was there too. But I think generally it seems that, they've become a very much hated team because, when you're looking at the guy who's trying his best and going, man, that's great, buddy. I'm glad you're succeeding. And then all of a sudden they become better than you. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I wanted you to do well. I didn't want you to do this well. And now they're in the Western Conference Finals for the, don't tell me, 5th time in 9 seasons. So.
And, only missed the playoffs once. Been to 2 Stanley Cup finals, won 1. In the Western Conference Final again this year. And yes, they're a big underdog, but I think maybe using a little bit of that villain mentality and it's us against everybody right now could be something that could work in that room.
Well, also, so I was going to use this as call me crazy, but since we're talking about this, so we're talking about minus 260, plus 210, looking around at some of the odds for, series spreads, things of that nature. One of my call me crazies was going to be, I think Vegas can give Colorado a series in the sense of extending this out, maybe even winning it, obviously. But so first off, you've got one of the better, I don't think you have the best player on the ice, but Mitch Marner's up there with the way that he's playing as, what are we talking about, 1-2, whatever it is, or whatever order you want to talk about right now at this point. So that's really going to help you out. The fact that William Karlsson's healthy is very good, and he has been skating well, and that line's been performing well. You brought up Eichel and how well he's been playing. We don't get to see this series until Wednesday, but God forbid, what if Mark Stone does come back? What if he is going to be healthy? I don't think he will, just reading between the lines. But either way, I think those are positives for them in terms of their skaters. You, if you're Vegas, give Tortorella some credit here. You don't have a question at goaltender. That is full trust in Carter Hart and the way that he has been playing, which has been better as it has gone along. For Colorado, you got some question. You saw both the members of the Lumberyard because you were questioning whether or not one of them was going to be out there. And while Wedgwood got back out there, right?
Yeah.
He only faced 7 shots over 40 minutes. So I don't know if that's exactly fixed at this point right now. So I think you can make the case that if you look at Vegas in this series, that they're at least competent enough with the experience that they have with some of the guys that are still on this roster that you could make a shot of this team staying inside of some of these games and actually sticking around and making Colorado sweat. Colorado minus 1.5 is minus 120. So you're looking at plus 2.5 games at minus 115. But Vegas plus 1.5 games at even money or better, I don't think it's a crazy thing to ask.
Or you want to scroll down to the bottom of our rundown and see what one of my best bets is for today?
I was going to spoil it. What is it? Over 5.5 games, yeah.
Yeah, that's the angle I played. I think 100% that this can be a game that goes to 6 or longer. It's not one of those things where Colorado is just going to absolutely run through Vegas like a hot knife through butter. And, we might as well play that sound from Jared Bednar right now because I know no matter what, when you get in front of the media and you're talking about the opponent, you want to talk them up a little bit, but I agree completely with everything Jared Bednar had to say about the Vegas Golden Knights and the point that they are at right now in their season.
I see this as a little bit maybe of a veteran group that was pretty comfortable through the course of the season. And then they add the coach that's going to push them out of that comfort zone. It's also timing, like veteran team, guys that have won, not in a panic, in the playoffs, wherever we seed, and then dialing it up at the right time too. So it's I mean, you can't look at, and I said this like when we were in the 8 seed or the 1 seed, you can't look at our record for the year and then someone else's record and go, oh yeah, they should just walk all over them. Because the last 30, 40 games of the season, you might have had the exact same record. So that's who you are for the last 4 months. And this is who Vegas is. This is a very dangerous, very good hockey team.
Like, I see that. I don't think this is a rollover walk in the park series for Colorado at all. I know no Mark Stone, and we don't, this is all of this to say we got down this tangent on everything with Vegas because of the not finding any information or timetable on Mark Stone and what that might look like in the future, nor for Jeremy Lauzon. But William Karlsson getting back into the fold, they have a lot of high-end talent. They're a very capable team that has seemingly had a different level of motivation since John Tortorella did take over. Torts, by the way, like, he does all this stuff to the media, and then the minute he's out of the job is just back on ESPN, mind you, and like using the media for his advantage, yet doesn't want to, I don't know, it's a whole thing.
No, you're right. It's a fair criticism.
It's just one of those things. But for Colorado too, they are not without injury issues themselves right now. And Bednar, as another part of that media availability, did say over the weekend that he thinks everyone should be available and ready to go. But you didn't have Arturi Lehkonen or Sam Malinsky the last 2 games of the last series. You saw Cale Makar deal with something of issue where he didn't look himself with the shoulder when he came back, also dealing with hip stuff right now. So if these guys have a setback or aren't available, that's going to play a role for Colorado too.
I agree.
Thank you. Last couple of minutes here, and we'll talk more baseball a little bit later on. Yeah.
Sorry. I also want to add one point. I just want to say really quickly, Vegas' power play has been awesome in the postseason.
Yes,
So
and they have a very good
too.
penalty kill
Penalty kill's been good, but so yeah, that whole point as well is in the special teams element, Vegas is at the very least on par with Colorado.
I know we have some baseball stuff to talk, but we can do that at the end of the hour. You did have an update on the Brendan Sorsby situation in college football. For anyone who missed it, Texas Tech's quarterback has been dealing with, or it was reported he came out, admitted to having a gambling addiction. They've been trying to figure out with the NCAA what that looks like, if he will be or not be eligible to come back and play. He's got a 7-figure NIL deal waiting in the balance. Does he need to go into what is the other draft
Supplemental
called?
draft.
The supplemental draft potentially for the NFL. So what's the latest
so
on that?
that's what this is about for the most part. So part of this is getting it's just essentially like, come on, like I need to figure out what's going on here. As Adam Schefter has tweeted out today, along with Thamel's article, supplemental draft paperwork is due June 22nd. So just over a month from now, draft is likely at the end of July. So Sorsby's got to find out here relatively quickly whether or not he is going to have to apply for the supplemental draft or if he's going to be playing college football. And I'm surprised that they would do this because our judicial system moves so quickly that I would think that you're going to get this answer when you need it. I also find it interesting that when you look at some of the wording coming out of this, and you're probably going to do or say a lot, but I think that when you look at the some of the quotes from his attorneys about this filing in general, filing says Sorsby suffers from a, quote, clinically diagnosed gambling disorder, which is a mental health condition. Quote, the NCAA has weaponized his condition to shore up a facade of competitive integrity while simultaneously profiting from the very gambling ecosystem it polices. So I don't think, again, if the rules are you can't do this and then you did it, it seems pretty cut and dry. I think the real question is just going to be, will he get his answer here and will he be up for the supplemental draft? And will a team be willing to take a shot on him in said supplemental draft?
Or is there a chance that maybe because of the NCAA's relationship with the league that maybe they just don't even want to deal with it and let the NCAA repercussions be what they are and you have to take a year out of football or something like that? Because I also understand, as you said, like you knew the rules for something and you did it anyways. There has to be a punishment for that.
Also, when you, again, this is why I think the jump into rehab before all of this really started, it seems performative.
For sure.
Because now you're like, see, I was addicted the whole time.
I still just can't get over, and we've talked about this before at length, not hindsight 2020, you never know what your career is going to be. But the fact that going into this year, you have millions of dollars hanging in the balance that you're not going to get for like however many $25 bets you were making, $5 bets you were making. It's just like absolutely insane.
I've got 2 things that I need to ask you about when we come back or mention.
We do have a guest. that's coming up.
I thought it was 12:45 already.
So
Sorry.
maybe it'll be cool if it's quick.
No. We'll save it for the end of the show.
Okay, that said, when we come back, we're going to get back to the NHL. Very excited to have Bill Hoppe join the program, covers the Sabres, Buffalo insider. He is going to give us the nitty-gritty on Game 7 we have coming up tonight from Buffalo. Buffalo short home favorites in this spot, although home ice has not been kind to them. Might it be tonight? We'll hit on it coming up after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's been nearly 20 years since the last time the Buffalo Sabres were in the Eastern Conference Final. Also, nearly 30 since they won a Game 7. Can both of those things occur tonight? We will discuss it all as Bill Hoppe joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Stormy Buonantony, JVT with you back here on Money Moves. Bill covers the Sabres insider each and every day. And like I said, Bill, it has been a hot minute, a lot of pressure on home ice tonight. What do you think goes down between them and the Montreal Canadiens in a series that has taken a lot of twists and turns?
It has taken a lot of twists and turns, and I mean it's been a highly entertaining series, and just trying to figure out what might happen game to game or predict it's been really hard. I mean, the Canadiens won games 2 and 3, I believe, but I mean just from game to game, it's been just one team taking over to another, and I mean if you're looking at tonight, I mean a lot of us, myself personally too, like we don't have a strong feel just because Game 7s, it almost feels like all bets are off. You're not sure what's going to happen. And the Sabres haven't been good on home ice. Both teams haven't been good on home ice. Both teams have been good on the road. And the Canadiens following up a loss this year in the postseason. I believe they're 5-0. And I mean, the numbers for them, obviously they're 5-0. The numbers in those games are really good. So, I mean, this is a tough one to predict, but I mean, part of me just wants to go with the home team just because of the environment. And I mean, there'll be a very, very raucous, special atmosphere tonight. So those are kind of my thoughts. I mean, I'm not leaning one way or the other, I would say.
So the back and forth nature has also kind of been what's happened with the Sabres in net. So who do you expect to start today in goal for Buffalo? And what does Lindy Ruff have to say about the way he's going to use these guys as we move forward?
Well, I would expect, it's not official, I would expect Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen to start just because he pulled Alex Lyon after he allowed goals on 3 or 4 shots last game. Luukkonen came in and stopped all 18 shots he faced. Going forward, if the Sabres, make it to the Eastern Conference Final or beyond or whatever, I expect him to keep utilizing the goalies like he has all season, and that means just both of them. I mean, he's not going to use Colton Ellis unless he has to at this point. But I mean, they've used 3 goalies a lot of the year, and a lot of the year, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Alex Lyon, they alternated starts for a chunk of the time. I mean, they were, in my opinion, maybe the league's best goalie tandem. And I know Alex Lyon is probably coming off the worst start of his career, but I expect him to keep utilizing both. And that means, sometimes he turns to these guys when they're not necessarily slumping. Maybe he just feels like, the other guy can give the team a spark. The team needs something. It's just the other guy's turn, so to speak. So I would expect him to keep relying on both going forward.
To go back to just the way that Lindy Ruff has picked his moments and made his decisions in net, I feel like he's done that with the lineup changes that he's made throughout this series as well. How impressive has it been to you to see him kind of push the buttons and make the tweaks that he's needed to get this Sabres team back on track?
Yeah, it's amazing. I was actually, before you called me, I was actually starting to write about that. They've had different lineups, it feels, almost not every night, but I mean, most nights they've tailored their lineup to just what he feels they need that night. And on Saturday in Montreal, there were questions about Owen Power. They wanted a right shot D. So Zach Metza, an impressive rookie who had sat the first 11 playoff games, came in and he played a very, very good game. He scored a goal late. And that's part of the Sabres' strength, just their depth. I mean, they pride themselves on it, too. They pride themselves on being an ensemble cast. And we've seen just different moments during the postseason. Luke Schenn had sat out for a while, and he came and played a couple games last week, gave them some good minutes. Against Boston, a heavy team, they utilized Josh Dunn as a fourth-line center a couple of games. I think all this depth they have, I think the only skater who hasn't played so far is Tanner Pearson. So they've dove into it, and they've used it to their advantage. And they're proud of just the way they can do that. I mean, and a lot of teams don't have that option to tailor their lineup the way they have.
What have we made of these all of a sudden explosion on the power plays for Buffalo? 6 out of the last 12, I believe, over the last 3 games. What's changed?
I'm not sure a ton has really changed. He did switch up the units before they got hot and moved 2 or 3 guys from the first, second, vice versa. I don't know if it's, all the cliche shooting mentality, just moving the puck quicker. But yeah, it has been very, very good. I mean, 4 goals last game. Part of me just thinks they were due. I mean, the way they were performing, and a lot of good teams with talented players just don't have a good power play because it's kind of a different game. The game slows down. It's different for some guys, and they're not quite as good at it as they are 5-on-5. But part of me just feels like they were due. I mean, they've been so bad going back. I mean, even to the regular season, where I think the last couple of weeks they had an over. So I just think a lot of it might be just a law of percentages. I mean, they couldn't go on that badly. But I mean, when you examine it, I'm sure they've just moved it quicker, had a shooting mentality, that sort of thing. Nothing crazy.
Talking Buffalo-Montreal Game 7 with Sabres insider Bill Hoppe on the Progressive guest line. Can you help me make sense of what's going on with Alex Tuch right now? Because I think a lot of us had high expectations for him in this series. He had 4 goals and 3 assists in the first round, yet has gone without a point in 6 straight, is -9 in this set. Could tonight be the night he wakes up, or what has gone wrong with Alex Tuch in your mind so far?
That's a good question because, like you say, he was maybe their best player in the opening round. I mean, he led them in scoring, I believe. This is something he's waited for a long time. He played a ton of playoff games with Vegas coming up in his career, and then he came here and he's had to wait. And you thought you would see a special performance from him, and you did early in the postseason. But I'm not sure what's happened exactly in these games. I mean, a lot of games, I don't think you've noticed him. Unless it's on the defensive end, maybe for not being that great. I will say he got going last game, and he could have had a couple of goals. He played like he played in the first round, but because he didn't score, I don't think you quite noticed it. But he's an unrestricted free agent following the season. This could be his last game with the Sabres, so I expect a better performance from him tonight. And it's funny though, because we talk about these guys slumping, and if this was the regular season, and a lot of this we probably wouldn't notice or pay that much attention to. But just because it's the playoffs and it's 4 or 5 games without a goal or a point, I mean, it's so magnified. Mm-hmm. But it really hasn't changed my opinion of Alex Tuch. I still think he's one of the league's best two-way players. He's going to cash in this offseason, whether it's from Buffalo or someone else. But, I mean, yeah, he's a guy to focus on tonight. I mean, because he has a lot to prove. And I think this has definitely taken a toll on him because he expects more of himself.
To that point, maybe the opposite of this, Tage Thompson the last 4 games has been freaking awesome. What's changed in this series for him?
That's a good question because he's had an odd postseason where he's been productive, but it's almost like you expect more from him. And he went a while without a goal. He scored 2 late in the first game against the Bruins. Through it all, he was still producing, but it felt like he had a higher level. And I think we've seen that higher level just these last couple of games, like you say. A lot of it is just the ebb and flow of a tough postseason where you're not going to be at your best every night. I think there's a couple things. One, he's nursing an injury, I believe. He hasn't said anything, but if you watch him and you watch how little he shot the puck at times, I think there might be something going on there. And then, when you have, Alex Tuch's not playing that well, stuff like that goes hand in hand. The last game, he switched to the wing, and I thought he had his best game in a long time. A lot of shots, a lot of activity. He was very, very noticeable, and he ended up with 4 points, I believe. So, and that's part of what makes him such an asset, is that in a pinch you can move him to the wing where he played early in his NHL career, and you won't get any drop-off. It's something I'm sure he prefers playing center, but, if you need him to go to the wing for a game, a period, a couple of weeks, it's something he can do, and he can play well there.
Bill, we're up against the break, so just a yes or no question. Will the city of Buffalo still be standing should the Sabres get a win tonight?
Oh, I wonder what it's going to look like. I'll say yes, but there will be some revelry in the streets.
You're awesome, Bill. Enjoy the game tonight. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Bill Hoppe, everybody. You can follow him on X as well, at Bill Hoppe NHL. We got to step aside here on Money Moves, but when we come back, our best bets for the day, wrapping things up, and the little Major League Baseball sprinkle before we go. We'll be right back.
Watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Looking for an edge in baseball betting? Time to check out the VSiN Daily Diamond. Sharp daily baseball betting insight all season long. Former MLB pitcher Jensen Lewis and Dave Ross break it all down. Lines, totals, props, and futures. You can subscribe to the VSiN Daily Diamond wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, search VSiN for our full podcast lineup, which of course includes Money Moves, Pod to the Futures, Hardwood Handicappers, and the like. VSiN is the Sports Betting Network. Got you covered on all of the bases.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Major League Baseball today, so the natural transition is be baseball. So I would like to point out at least one game that I had some interest in before we get to some other topics, and I know that's what you would prefer. Nick Lodolo is going to get the start against the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm not doing this to curry favor with Justin, our producer. Very interested to see this matchup here because you would think that Mr. Solo Lodolo here is about to get again knocked around. It has not been a good start to the season for Nicky Boy. 2 starts, 9 earned runs, 3 homers allowed. Command has been a little shaky. I know that he was dealing with the blister or whatever it was coming back. Well, he very clearly is still dealing with it at this point. And through the 2 starts, there is no recourse when you look at some of the numbers here. 8.68 ERA, 8.80 expected, 7.49 fielding independent. You look at some of the contact numbers, Stormantha, and it is ugly. 6 barrels allowed so far, hard hit rate of 48%. Be very curious to see with this Philadelphia Phillies team smacking the ball the way that they are. I'll eliminate Painter. I don't want to worry about that. But maybe looking around at some team totals here for the Philadelphia Phillies against Mr. Lodolo, only because this has been ugly, and I would not expect, given the way the Phillies are playing, that this is going to change anytime soon. So, Phillies team total over 4.5 at -125, I feel like is a fair ask for the Phillies today.
So you mentioned given the way the Phillies are playing, 15-4 since Don Mattingly took over. They are over 500 for the first time since April 7th right now. Haven't lost a series in that time and are fresh off a sweep against the Pirates, which included back-to-back shutout wins. Is what they're doing right now, is this sustainable? Is this what the Phillies really are?
I think so. And that's also, it's baseball. I was talking to a Mets fan the other day. It was 2 weeks ago. Oh, they're done. It's not. They're not done. They can still make the playoffs. All of these teams can. It's a long season. And while I will always say, yes, you do not get the games at the beginning of the season back, you still also have plenty of runway to make up for your margin of error. So, yeah, I think that there's a reason why you make the change, because you expect more from your team because of the way that you have built it, and I think you are starting to see that here. So, yes, the true form of the Philadelphia Phillies, absolutely.
Not to the same extent, but I did want to ask you about the Mets' big picture as well. They just took 2 of 3 from the Yankees. They've won 4 of their last 5 series, seemingly showing some grit and resolve, come all the way back yesterday. Could this be the start of maybe a turn for the Mets?
I think so too, although I'm more bullish on what the Phillies are than the Metropolitans. But I think at the end of the day, these teams were better than what they were showing at the beginning of the year. The question just, is now, as you look at the hole that you've dug yourself in the National League, can you do enough over the course of this season to get yourself to a point where you can make it out? The Phillies are 3.5 games back. That's not anything crazy to make up. The Mets are 7 games back.
Okay.
That's a big mountain to climb. It's not insurmountable considering where we're at this point of the season, but hard to be as bullish on the Mets as you are on the Phillies, considering what we have seen recently and the fact that their margin is a lot shorter to make up than the currently last place in the National League East New York Metropolitans.
Okay, you told me in the commercial break there were a couple things on your mind. What's
Two
up?
things. First off, let's see. McKenna in this NHL draft. I continue to be very interested by this. So when I watched the lottery, this was presented to be as what's his first name? Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. That the team that wins this is going to get Gavin, right? This is going to be it. Isn't there a band, something Gavin? Anyway. But everything I read and everything that crosses my eyes when it comes to social media, National Hockey League, I'm seeing many question that thought. And so I came across a prop of Gavin McKenna first overall pick minus 525 versus the field. And I wonder if that is, let me make sure the language on that was correct. But when I saw that, because I skipped past it quick and I just wrote it down to bring it up. But my whole point, not even outside of that prop, which I'll get to proper number on right now, it does seem that there are many that are trying to cut the legs out from underneath this thought of McKenna being the far and away the guy at the top of this draft.
Yeah, there are people that are a lot more draft centric in terms of their knowledge than I am, but I've seen a lot of the same things that you have on that. And even right away when you asked me about like my thoughts of Gavin McKenna and what kind of the comp would be, it's not like he's a generational type of a guy, at least on the surface, right? Like he's not going to be another Austin Matthews for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's not the expectation, but he is the most skilled player in this draft. Also, it's a little bit interesting from a Maple Leaf standpoint because, and we talked to Jonathan Davis about this not too long ago, they're not in need of another forward, right? Like they are pretty set in that standpoint. What they need is some blue line help, but both of the top guys in the draft aren't defensemen. So is there potential for Toronto maybe even to trade out of that spot? I don't think so. I think that they draft number 1, and I think they probably take Gavin McKenna. But this Stenberg kid has been talked about a lot as well. And he seems to be, from what I have gathered, the more ready to go now type of a player. But McKenna has the bigger potential, big picture. So I don't know, but I do think 525 seems a little bit steep for somebody that, to your point, has some question marks.
And that is the bet. Gavin McKenna to be drafted first overall minus 525 versus any other player to be drafted first overall plus 350. That is over at BetMGM. As I am told by John Brown, Gavin Rossdale, lead singer of Bush, also ties into the Childish Gambino song Freaks and Geeks, in which he has a line that he says in the back of a bush like Gavin Rossdale's drummer. How about that?
Okay.
Also, the other point I wanted to make here, let me pull up the tweet because this was sent to us up on social media. We appreciate everything.
I only know Gavin DeGraw.
Dance Gavin Dance was also the other band that I was thinking of. Xavier checks in, sprinkled on A.J. Mitchell for MVP of both finals and Western Conference finals, just in case he remains productive in both series if they make it through the San Antonio Spurs. 150-1 to win finals MVP. Western Conference finals MVP, also 150-1.
Okay. Let's get to the best bets portion of the afternoon. Start with the recap of the weekend. I didn't have anything on Friday on the way out for us, but you did run us through it.
Recap from the weekend. I don't know why you would make me do this. Loses. Cavaliers minus 3.5, minus 115.
Transparency. It's what we do here on the network.
Does not get there. And the Timberwolves plus 5.5 also. These, of course, coming on Friday when we made these. So losers, dunzo outside. And so now we move on and we persevere. Bets for today, because you didn't have any, so I'll just take over here because I said so. For me, Thunder minus 6.5. Let's get some revenge, boys. Take a 1-0 series lead. I think they can get it done. I think that they can cover this number. It's why it's here, Stormy. I also I believe that they're a better team. Speaking of Mitchell and the MVP candidacy potentially, obviously it's 150-1 for a reason, but the whole point here being is that they are better with the emergence of Mitchell, the return of Jalen Williams. I think they've got some funky matchup things that work for them as well, being able to retain their size while also not losing anything defensively along the perimeter. I think they're going to be pretty good here. So Thunder minus 6.5 in game 1 tonight. we will fly in the face, spit in the face of these trends. Canadian Sabres over 5.5. Got that at even money. Let's get this thing done. As we have discussed, everything would tell you about this series that this should be able to go over 5.5 games. Tighter checking be damned. I believe that this game will go over, much like many of these games in this series have. And speaking of overs, one more for you. Same number, different type of bet. Spurs, Thunder, over 5.5 games, minus 160. And I will just tell you this right now as you present yours. I will put it in the doc. I did not put this in, but I'm going to piggyback on what you have right now.
Okay. Also, I will say for the Canadian Sabres total prices, it looks like even money is the best you can get on the over right now, minus 105, the prevailing number. But again, with the juice on the under, good perceived value on the over for a series that has had 5 of the 6 games to this point with 6 or more goals. My bet that I'm adding to the account is the over 5.5 games in the Avs and Golden Knights series. We talked about it earlier, the way that Vegas matches up with this Colorado team. I think they can win a couple games and extend this thing. They have some areas of their game that are dangerous. They're a very strong defensive team. You talked about the power play getting into gear. The penalty kill has been excellent throughout the course of the postseason as well. So special teams, whereas Colorado has had such a significant advantage in that area in both of their previous series, they're not going to have that same type of an edge against the Vegas Golden Knights. And Colorado's played a handful of pretty close games too. Like they were an overtime away, essentially, from playing 6 games against the Minnesota Wild. We saw multiple 1-goal games against the Los Angeles Kings, even though the Kings got swept in that first round. And they've shown some vulnerabilities, as you said earlier, in net between Scott Wedgwood and Mackenzie Blackwood. So let's see if we can get a long series with the Vegas and Avalanche.
We did get one. That went 6 games.
Yeah, I'm aware. Thank you. I was there for a few of them last I checked as well.
I was there for one.
Which, are you going to go to more, though?
Of course.
Yeah, I think that'll be, maybe I should see if I can come up in the press box. And I don't know, I like my couch.
What?
I like my couch.
Come on, it's great up there.
It's not the same when you're in the press box compared to where I usually get to stand.
It was pretty good. Ate some peanuts.
A little bit of a downer. That's a wrap for us today. Excited for this whole week, though. All of the NBA and NHL postseason action we have going on. Why are you pointing?
I'm just you're excited for the week. I'm not here the whole week, so
all the more reason, one might say.
That's what I'm saying.
Enjoy your day, everybody. Follow the Money with Mitch and Paul coming up after this.